They were both fairly close, but the YouGov polls have been far closer than all the other polls, or most of the other polls throughout this entire process. So this isn't a great difference. You have in Arizona Joe Biden at 50%, Donald Trump at 47%, and then you go to Wisconsin. And while a lot of other polls have been showing 10, 11, 12-point leads in Wisconsin, CBS News YouGov has kept it a little tighter. You see here Joe Biden at 51%, Trump up 46%. Again, in both the Wisconsin race as well as the Arizona race, virtually unchanged in terms of the margin. So you have Biden stubbornly 4, 5, 6 points ahead in Wisconsin, which we've heard now from both camps for the past couple of months. It's caused a sense of growing frustration among the Trump team and, of course, the Biden team, extraordinarily paranoid still because Hillary Clinton workers are still helping Biden out here. But you look at the lead in the Washington Post this morning, and it talks about how Hillary Clinton was up 12 points in Michigan, 7 points in Wisconsin, and 7 points in Pennsylvania at this same stage 4 years ago. Should the Biden team be frightened that the same thing that happened 4 years ago is going to repeat itself in 2 weeks and 1 day?
Good morning, Joe. I think it'd be a good idea for the Biden campaign, and I think it's one of the strengths of that campaign has been that they have been running scared throughout, and I think continuing to run scared all the way through the tape is the right approach at this point. I think, there are a lot of things that are different about 2016, and what you've seen, one of the key elements here is like in 2020 or in 2016. There's a lot of noise in all this polling, but you had essentially a 5-person race in 2016 where Donald Trump could win a lot of these states by being in the mid 40s, right? Because you had a Green Party candidate, you had Gary Johnson, you had 50 was not in anybody's win number in this race where there are no real third-party candidates. Someone's going to get 50 to win in these states. And I think what gives the Biden campaign confidence in a lot of these battleground states is that even though there's some noise in the polling, right? But the stability of Biden's lead in most of these battleground states, particularly those upper Midwest states, the Wisconsin, Michigan, and more recently Pennsylvania, having kind of been the state that seemed to be the outlier among the three battleground states in the Midwest, Great Lakes. That one has now come into consistency with the other two. Biden, the consistency of his lead, and in so many of these states, him being up at 49-50, and Trump being in all of this polling, even the ones that show narrower margins, have Trump in the mid-40s. And the mid-40s essentially is, what is that? That's Donald Trump's approval rating. And it's been his approval rating for the last 4 years. And this is why I think there's underlying confidence on the Democratic side, which is the thing we know about incumbent reelections is that on election day, the president usually gets what his approval rating is. That's been a historical truth. And Donald Trump, a guy who has dwelled between 42 and 45% for 4 straight years, you look in these battleground states and you see the same thing. Donald Trump between 42 and 45%. You look at him nationally between 42 and 45%. The likelihood that on the national level and in a lot of these battleground states, he's going to end up between 42 and 45%. And in a 2-person race, that will not be enough. That is the underlying confidence the Biden campaign has. But of course, like every Democrat in the country who suffers from PTSD in 2016, of course they are frightened. And of course, it is the right thing for them strategically and tactically to be running like they are terrified.
Bob Costa, what concerns many people on the Trump team right now is that Joe Biden's numbers have actually cracked 50% in a lot of these states. In a lot of the polls, he's sitting at 50, 51, 52, 53%. And they remember very well Hillary Clinton often in state polls being at 44, 45, 46%, with a lot of undecided voters out there.
What we're seeing across the country is the senior vote starting to turn from its traditional Republican roots in many of these battlegrounds toward becoming more of a Biden Republican vote. And what explains that is the pandemic. And I encourage you to read the story we just posted, a deep dive. We've worked on it for weeks on the Washington Post website about why the White House is managing the pandemic as it is. And you have Scott Atlas there, Joe, right now, this doctor from the Hoover Institute in California, whispering in President Trump's ear. And there's a climate and culture inside of the West Wing toward herd immunity, toward the idea of just kind of moving on from the virus. This is the same doctor, Scott Atlas, who tweeted over the weekend about masks not being effective. And all of this action inside of the West Wing, or lack of action, is getting baked in to the polls and how seniors and other voters are interpreting this president's leadership and his response to the pandemic.
And Bob, does that explain what's happening in Florida, why the president, who was expected to win easily by 2, 3, 4, even 5 percentage points 6 months ago, why the president is having such a difficult time, not only in states like Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Michigan, but also in Arizona and Florida, 2 Sunbelt states that he thought were going to be comfortably in his camp?
Months ago, a White House official told me their real rival in this race is not Vice President Biden, it's the virus. And when you wonder why the Democrats are starting to tick up in Florida, in Georgia, in Arizona, across these states that have never really been in Democratic terrain for years, it's because of the pandemic. And you look at the president's response to it. And as summer turns into fall, and many of these states are now dealing with rising numbers of cases, you see a real crisis starting to emerge. And as much as President Trump is back on the road and has his own message and his own spin, the reality and facts of this global pandemic continue to confront him regardless.
Yeah, and you know, your point is backed up by the fact that I've seen folks who appear on TV for Trump just flouting the virus, mocking it like it's not a story, like it almost doesn't exist. It appears they are competing against not Joe Biden and his record and who he is as a person, but this coronavirus and its reality.
And seniors see that.
Yeah, they see that because their life is in danger.
And by the way, when they talk about herd immunity, when the White House starts embracing herd immunity, what they're saying is hundreds of thousands of senior citizens can die.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.